Before we get started, I'd just like to say this video is proudly sponsored by VRFSG, which produce many different lens inserts for a whole range of VR headsets, right from the high-end stuff like the Vario Aero and now Pimax Crystal, and also the Quest 2, Pico 4, and even the huge lenses of the 8KX. Now, if you're not a glasses wearer, I'd still recommend getting lens inserts because you have blue light filters and it helps protect your lenses, which is so important. And of course, if you do wear glasses, well, you can dial in your own prescription even if you have an astigmatism. I currently have a 15% discount code, so go check them out while it's still available. Hello folks, welcome aboard the Just Flight F28 Professional. I do have a review of this airliner on the channel, and honestly this is one of the most incredible immersive experiences you can have in VR. It really is right up there with the Just Flight 146, funny enough, and the PMDG 737, but it's a classic airliner. Anyway, we're not here for that. This video is about the Pimax Crystal versus the BigScreen Beyond. Which is better? Which one is right for you? And in order to answer that question, I'm just going to compare the main factors. And let's start with the most important one, the visual fidelity. So that's a two-stage thing because there's the optics and then you've got the panel, you know, the resolution, all that kind of thing. So let's start with the optics. Now, with the BigScreen Beyond, you do get a stacked lens design with custom pancake lenses. However, because of that stacked lens design, there is definitely God rays and glare, especially with my pre-production unit. It's something that actually is quite bad, I think, personally, and it really does detract from that display quality. When it comes to the Pimax Crystal, it's got aspheric lenses. And they are, in my opinion, I prefer aspheric lenses to pancake lenses because a number of factors. One, there's more light going through the lenses than pancake. Also, you get zero, and I'm talking zero, God rays and glare. It is incredible. Also, you get a better sweet spot, especially when compared to the BigScreen Beyond, which, although it's okay, to be honest, I think the Pico 4 is even better in terms of its sweet spot than the BigScreen Beyond. And when it comes to the Pimax Crystal, well, you know, it's a huge difference. And that's where, actually, flying an airliner, when I'm looking at all the gauges, I can look at every single gauge with the Pimax Crystal right now with my eyes. I don't need to move my head at all. With the BigScreen Beyond, I still need to move my head around quite a lot. So let's now talk about the actual resolution of each VR headset. Well, in the Pimax Crystal's case, I think it's 2880 by 2880. Can't remember the resolution of the BigScreen Beyond, but I'll put it on the screen now. But when it's all said and done, the Crystal has a much higher resolution, but that also means it needs more performance. It needs more juice from your GPU, so that's something to consider. You know, the BigScreen Beyond does run at faster frame rates than the Pimax Crystal at native resolution. That's just obvious, but obviously worth mentioning. However, this is where it gets very interesting because the BigScreen Beyond has a micro OLED display, which means you get pure, beautiful deep blacks and very nice colors. However, the Crystal fights back because even though it has a QLED screen, so it's not OLED, the colors, well, pretty much they are exactly the same, especially in a scenario like this when it's daytime or perhaps sunset. They basically look the same, folks. They really do. It's not until you get completely pitch black that you can definitely tell the OLED takes over. That's not to say the Pimax Crystal has, you know, rubbish blacks. In fact, it's pretty much 90% of OLED. Here's the thing to make it even more complicated. The BigScreen Beyond, again, because of the glare, when it's a nighttime scene, you still experience that. With the Pimax Crystal, when it's completely black, you do experience blooming, and that's because of the local dimming zones. However, for me personally, I would take that little bit of blooming over the glare of the BigScreen Beyond any day of the week. And to be honest, the black levels are so close, it's fine for me, totally fine. So all in all, the Crystal absolutely wins hands down against the BigScreen Beyond when it comes to visual fidelity. That is, of course, the lenses and the actual resolution of the display. So let's talk about comfort. This is a really funny one because, I mean, let's not mess around here, folks. The BigScreen Beyond absolutely wins hands down against, well, not just the Crystal, but any VR headset. When it comes to just the lightness of that crazy tiny VR headset, like you're talking about, what, 170 grams or so? You know, the Pimax Crystal is almost 1 kilogram. In fact, it might be more than that. I can't quite remember. However, in practice, it's not all about the specs and what it seems like on paper. Because the thing is with the BigScreen Beyond, after a couple of hours, which is still a long time, you know, that's quite a long time to be in VR, the facial interface, which is molded... Oh. I think I'm getting a traffic warning. The BigScreen Beyond facial interface is molded to your face, which is great. But the thing is, after a couple of hours, you start to feel very clammy. Very clammy and very sweaty. With the Pimax Crystal, with it being a fabric interface, and there's just a bit more air going around, it's not as good as the Vari Aero because it doesn't have active cooling, I am a lot cooler in this headset. So it depends what you want to do, folks. I think for flight sims like this, sitting down, the Crystal, for me personally, is very comfortable and more than adequate, you know, for 2 or 3 hours. So it's actually quite closer than you think, even though the BigScreen Beyond is much lighter. But I think when it's all said and done, though, the party piece of the BigScreen Beyond is the fact it's absolutely tiny, doesn't weigh anything pretty much, and I think, you know, it is more comfortable overall. But keep in mind, you will get a bit more clammier and hotter in it. So when it comes to things like audio, well, at the moment, the BigScreen Beyond does not come with an audio strap, at least not the one I've got. Whether the Pimax Crystal has DMAS speakers, and they are absolutely excellent, guys. They are superb, very much up there with the likes of the Reverb G2 and the Index. So that's a big plus, and they sit off your ears, and they're just, I love them. In fact, this is one of the big things about the Pimax Crystal I love, is the speaker system. The audio is fantastic. Let's have a quick look outside here at the Fokker F28. What a beauty this is, honestly. I love this airliner so much. Something I have to mention, of course, is that the Pimax Crystal has batteries. That means it does run out. Although with the Pimax Hub, which I'm using at the moment, I'm now on my 3rd hour of using this headset. I've still got 2 bars remaining. So it's pretty damn good, actually, in terms of battery life. But, you know, when it's all said and done, the BigScreen Beyond doesn't need any batteries at all. You can use it for an entire week if you want to. So that's a big plus there for that headset. I think another thing to mention is software. You can use quite happily the OpenXR toolkit and tweak to your heart's content. And not only that, the Pimax Crystal has eye tracking, so I'm using dynamic foveated rendering, which gives me 10% performance back. It could even be as much as 50 to 60% or even more than that in DCS World, which is a native implementation. That's a big deal. With the BigScreen Beyond, you don't get any eye tracking or any fancy features like that, so you're not going to really benefit from extra performance there. Now, in terms of the price, well, actually the Pimax Crystal is better value for money. You don't need base stations, you've got controllers, and it's an all-in-one package for around £1,600–1,700. Whether the BigScreen Beyond, even though it's about 1,000, what is it, about 1150, something like that in British pounds, you're going to need base stations and controllers. So I think it's actually more expensive than the Crystal. And for flight simulation purposes, I don't think you need the best in class tracking like base stations. The Crystal with its inside-out tracking solution is perfectly adequate for that, and it works fine. So with that being said, folks, the winner for me is absolutely the Pimax Crystal, and that's mainly down to the visual fidelity, which for me is really important. Actually, I didn't mention field of view, did I? The field of view in the Pimax Crystal is also much better than the BigScreen Beyond. Although the BigScreen Beyond is very good, the horizontal field of view is about the same as a Pico 4 for me, which is amazing. considering how tiny that headset is with the micro OLED displays. It's probably the way they've canted their displays. It's a very clever way of getting some more field of view, and that can induce some well, eye strain, but no, they've done a good job there. Look at that view there. We've got the moon and lots of FS traffic airliners flying about. Fantastic. Now you need to remember, folks, that I'm doing this comparison based upon flight simulation, and quite honestly, the Pimax Crystal is the best we have right now. It even beats the Vari Aero in some very crucial areas, although I do still feel the Aero is right up there with the Crystal. It's a very premium headset, more so than the Crystal. But, you know, when it's all said and done, as much as I love the BigScreen Beyond, I'm looking forward to seeing the final production unit, because that might change things a little bit. With that glare, the sweet spot being quite small for me, and the clamminess on long VR sessions, for me, it's the Pimax Crystal. I think it definitely beats the BigScreen Beyond for what we like, and that is flight simulation. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I truly appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.